He didn't block my number in the literal sense, not at first. He didn't need to. The kind of man Adrian Vale was could silence a room just by stepping into it, could quiet a city with a single phone call, could make the word no sound like a joke told by someone who wanted to disappear. I learned early that the world rearranged itself around him. Elevators waited. Meetings started late if he was late, ended early if he was bored. People laughed at the wrong places and remembered the right ones. I was the only one who ever tried to hold the line, to keep my own gravity. And that was probably why I fell so hard. The night everything broke, I was standing in our kitchen with my bare feet on cold stone, palms pressed to the edge of the counter because the room kept tilting. Outside the glass wall, the city shimmered, 1,000 windows blinking like eyes. And somewhere down there, people were kissing, arguing, dreaming. I'd been doing all three in the span of an hour. My phone was slick with condensation because I'd carried it into the bathroom earlier, as if it could hold my courage in place. On the screen was Adrian's contact photo, some crisp corporate portrait taken before we married, when he still pretended he didn't own half the skyline. Gray suit, calm eyes, the faintest hint of a smile that never reached his mouth. He looked like a promise you couldn't afford. I hit call. The ringtone started. Once, twice. My other hand drifted to my stomach, almost without permission. I wasn't showing yet, not really. Just a softness where my body had begun to quietly reroute its plans. It was strange how quickly I'd learned to cradle myself, to become a shelter. 3 rings. I tried to breathe through the nausea. The doctor's office smelled like disinfectant and lemon air freshener, and their words had been clinical, careful. Congratulations, 6 weeks, heartbeat strong. Start your prenatal vitamins. Avoid stress. Avoid stress. 4 rings. I thought about the way Adrian's hands had trembled a week ago when he'd signed the contract that gave him sole control of the board. How he'd smiled then, sharp as glass, and said, "It's done, Mira. No one can touch us now." No one can touch us. 5 rings. My phone vibrated in my palm. I watched the screen switch from calling to call ended. A thin, controlled silence filled the kitchen, the kind of silence you could drown in. Then the notification appeared. Call declined, as if my voice was an inconvenience, as if the world could wait. I stared at the words until my eyes burned. I told myself it was a mistake, that he was in the middle of something urgent, that he'd call back immediately. Adrian always called back, eventually. He always came home, eventually. He always apologized, eventually, with expensive gifts and softer nights and the kind of attention that made you forget you'd been starving. I dialed again. Ring, ring. This time the call didn't even pretend. It went straight to voicemail. My throat tightened. My fingers shook so hard I nearly dropped the phone. I tried not to cry. I tried not to be the woman I'd sworn I'd never become. The one who waited, the one who begged, the one who adjusted her heartbeat to match a man's schedule. I swallowed and forced my voice steady when the voicemail beeped. "Adrian, it's me," I said. "Please call me back. It's important. It's—" My breath hitched, despite my efforts. "It's about the baby." The word baby felt like it belonged to someone else, like it might float away if I didn't grip it hard enough. I ended the message and stood there, listening to my own breathing, the distant hum of the refrigerator, the soft whisper of traffic far below. On the counter beside me was the envelope from the clinic. Inside, a blurry printout that looked like static until you knew what you were seeing. A small, bright curve. A heartbeat that existed because of us. I picked up the envelope and pressed it to my chest like an apology. Adrian chose a meeting over me. At the time, I didn't know it would be his last mistake. I'd learned over 3 years of marriage that Adrian's world operated on priorities, deals, markets, threats, power, control. Everything had a place, and I, his wife, the woman he claimed to love, was often squeezed into the cracks between boardrooms and late-night calls. But this was different because I wasn't calling to ask him to come home for dinner. I was calling to tell him his heir was alive. And I was calling because something else was wrong. It started that morning, before the clinic, before the envelope, before the first call he declined. I'd woken up to the scent of smoke. Not from a fire, not even close. It was the particular smell of gunpowder clinging to fabric, the metallic tang that lingers after violence. Adrian carried it sometimes, like cologne you couldn't wash off. He'd left before dawn without waking me, but I'd found his shirt draped over the back of a chair in the bedroom. White cotton, faint blood stain near the cuff, like a signature. In the pocket was his second phone. He didn't think I knew about it. He didn't think I'd ever look. I'm not proud of what I did, but pride is a luxury when your life starts whispering that you're about to be erased. The phone was locked. Adrian's locks were always flawless, but I lived with him. I watched him type codes, heard him repeat numbers under his breath when he thought he was alone. I knew the way his mind worked. Everything had meaning. Everything was a pattern. His password was my birthday. The irony made my stomach lurch. When the screen opened, the first thing I saw was a message thread labeled simply M. My initial, but not my contact photo. A different M. The last message was time-stamped 2:13 a.m. I read it once, then again. Then I felt my blood turn to ice. She's pregnant. I know. She's calling you. I can't take it. The board needs you. The deal needs you. Make sure she doesn't interfere. With what? With anything. Then a final line. If she becomes a liability, you know what to do. I dropped the phone like it burned. For a moment, the room went quiet except for the rush of my own pulse. Liability. The word echoed, sharp and clinical, the way doctors spoke about tumors. If she becomes a liability, you know what to do. I stared at the screen again, searching for context, for misinterpretation, for a reason not to panic. But I knew Adrian. I knew the man who smiled while signing papers that put families out on the street. I knew the man who could order security to remove someone without raising his voice. I knew the man who once said, very softly, "People are assets until they aren't." Had I become an asset that was about to depreciate? Had my pregnancy turned me from wife to problem? I scrolled up. There were weeks of messages. Mess. The shareholders are pushing. Adrian. Let them. Mess. She's asking questions. Adrian. Tell her whatever keeps her quiet. Mess. She's talking to that lawyer friend. Adrian. Stop her. Stop her. My fingers went numb. The lawyer friend was Tessa Ward, my college roommate, the only person in my life Adrian never fully trusted, because Tessa had eyes like knives and a spine made of steel. Adrian tolerated her the way predators tolerate fences. I had mentioned Tessa once, casually, after a dinner party, and Adrian had gone still. Who is she to you? he'd asked, tone calm but eyes dangerous. A friend. Keep it that way. I should have listened to the warning in his voice then, because now, reading those messages, I understood. Adrian had been monitoring me. He'd been preparing. And someone named M, someone inside his world, had been tasked with making sure I stayed silent. The clinic visit came after that discovery. I told myself I needed confirmation, needed to anchor my fear to something real. If I was going to confront Adrian, I needed to know what was happening in my body. I needed to know if I was imagining things. The pregnancy test in the bathroom had been positive 2 days earlier. I'd sat on the cold tile floor with a stick in my hand, laughing and crying at once, thinking of Adrian's face when he found out. Thinking of the softness that sometimes flickered in him when he looked at children in the park. Thinking of the way he once said, almost like a confession, I didn't have a childhood. If I ever have a kid, they'll have everything. I'd believed him. Now I wasn't sure what everything meant. At the clinic, the technician had moved the wand across my belly, and the screen had filled with gray. Then a small, flashing light. There, she said, smiling. That's the heartbeat. My breath caught. It was real. Our baby. Our heir. The word heir had always belonged to men like Adrian, families like his, empires built on bloodlines and legacy. I'd married into that world thinking love could soften it. Love didn't soften Adrian Vale. Love sharpened him. I left the clinic with the envelope and a trembling hope that maybe, just maybe, this would change something. That even if Adrian was distracted, even if he was stressed, even if he'd made a cruel decision in a moment of pressure, the news of his child would pull him back to me. That was why I called. That was why it hurt when he declined. That was why the second phone in my mind kept flashing those words, liability. By the time I stood in the kitchen with voicemail and silence, the hope had started to rot. I called Tessa. She answered on the second ring, voice brisk. Mira, you okay? No, I whispered. The word came out raw, a pause, then softer. Where are you? At home. Alone? I think so. Listen to me, Tessa said. Her tone shifted into something I recognized from late-night study sessions and courtroom prep videos. Focused. Sharp. Is Adrian there? No, he's in meetings. My voice cracked. He declined my call. Okay. I heard keys jangling. Tell me what happened. Start from the beginning. So I told her about the second phone, about the messages, about the word liability, about the heartbeat. Silence on the line. Then Tessa exhaled slowly. Mira, she said. You need to leave. What? Now. He's my husband. And you're his risk. Her voice was grim. If those messages are real, if he told someone to handle you, you can't stay there, not even for an hour. My stomach twisted. I can't just leave. Where would I go? To me, Tessa said immediately. I'm 15 minutes away. I'm coming to get you. What if he notices? Let him notice after you're safe. I looked around the kitchen, at the spotless counters, the expensive appliances, the glass wall that looked out over a city Adrian controlled like a board game. The penthouse was beautiful. It was also a cage built of money and fear. Tessa, I whispered, what if I'm wrong? What if I misread it? Then you apologize later. Alive. Alive. The word slammed into me. I pressed my hand to my belly again, feeling nothing but the warmth of my skin. But somewhere inside, a heartbeat flickered. Alive. I swallowed hard. Okay. Pack a bag, Tessa ordered. Only essentials, no luggage, no obvious exits. And Mira? Yes? Don't use the elevators. My blood ran cold. Why? Because if Adrian has security on his payroll, and he does, then he can lock them down. Take the service stairs and turn off your location. I hung up and moved like someone underwater. Essentials. I went to the bedroom and opened the closet. Adrian's suits lined one side in perfect rows. My dresses and sweaters were on the other, color-coded because I'd once tried to make order out of chaos. I grabbed a small backpack and stuffed it with underwear, a hoodie, jeans, my passport, my bank cards. I hesitated at the jewelry box. Adrian had given me diamonds like apologies. I left them. I took the clinic envelope. I took a small photograph from the nightstand. Me and Adrian on our wedding day. His hand on my waist, my smile wide, his expression unreadable. We looked like strangers pretending. I almost left it too. But revenge, I realized later, begins with remembering what was stolen. I slipped the photo into the bag. My phone buzzed. For a second, my heart leapt. Adrian. But it was a number I didn't recognize. Unknown. I stared at it. Then the phone buzzed again with a text. Mine. Don't leave. My breath stopped. The same initial. My fingers shook as I typed. Who is this? The reply came instantly. Mine. Someone who knows what happens to liabilities. A cold sweat broke over my skin. I backed away from the phone as if it could bite me. Then another text. Mine. Adrian chose the meeting. You should choose to stay. My vision blurred. They knew. They were watching. Tessa's words echoed. Don't use the elevators. I grabbed my bag and moved toward the hallway. The penthouse was quiet. Too quiet. No music, no staff. Adrian didn't like live-in help. Too many witnesses. At the end of the corridor was the service door that led to the stairwell. I reached for the handle. It didn't move. Locked. My pulse spiked. I tried again, twisting harder. Nothing. I stared at the keypad beside the door. Adrian had installed it after a break-in last year. He'd said it was for our safety. I'd never been given the code. Because safety, in Adrian's world, was controlled access. I pressed the intercom button for building security, the one Adrian rarely used because he didn't trust anyone. No answer. My phone buzzed again. The doors are locked for your protection. My stomach lurched. I looked around, mind racing. The balcony. I ran to the living room, to the sliding glass doors that opened to the terrace. The wind outside would be brutal, 40 stories up, but there was a fire escape ladder on the side of the building that maintenance used. Adrian had once pointed it out with a smirk. No one gets in that way. Too visible. Maybe no one expected someone to get out that way either. I shoved the door. It slid open. Cold air slapped me, stealing my breath. The city noise rose up like a distant ocean. I stepped onto the terrace, gripping the railing, my hair whipping across my face. The maintenance ladder was exactly where I remembered, bolted to the side of the adjacent service structure. I climbed onto the low wall, heart hammering. Below, the street was a glittering blur. One misstep, and I would become a headline. My phone buzzed again. I ignored it. I swung my leg toward the ladder. A voice behind me made my blood freeze. Mira. I turned. Adrian stood in the doorway. He wasn't in a suit. He wore a dark shirt with the sleeves rolled up, tie missing, hair slightly disheveled. He looked like he'd come straight from a war room. His eyes locked onto mine, sharp and bright. "Get down," he said quietly. My whole body trembled. "You locked the door." He glanced at the keypad, then back to me. "For your safety." "My safety," I repeated, voice shaking with disbelief. "Or your convenience." He stepped closer, boots heavy on the terrace stone. The wind tugged at his shirt, revealing the hard lines of his body, the power coiled beneath his skin. "I got your voicemail," he said. "You declined my call," I snapped. A flicker of irritation crossed his face. "I was in a meeting." "A meeting?" I whispered. The word tasted like poison. "I was calling to tell you I'm pregnant." His expression went still. For a second, something softened in his eyes. Surprise, then calculation. "Pregnant," he repeated. I pulled the envelope from my bag with shaking hands and threw it at him. It hit his chest and fell to the ground. 6 weeks, I said, voice breaking. "Heartbeat strong. Congratulations, right?" He stared at the envelope like it was a weapon. Then he looked at me. "Come inside," he said. "No." His jaw tightened. "Mira." "I saw your messages," I blurted. His eyes narrowed. "I saw the phone," I continued, words tumbling out in desperation. "The second phone, the thread with M, the part where you said if I become a liability." Adrian's face hardened so quickly, it was terrifying. "Where did you get that phone?" he asked. "In your pocket," I said, "because you left it." His gaze flicked to my bag, to my stance on the wall, to the ladder. His voice dropped. "You were going to run." "Yes," I said, tears streaming now despite my attempts. "Because you told someone to handle me. Because someone is texting me telling me not to leave. Because I'm scared of my own husband." A muscle jumped in his cheek. He stepped closer. "Give me your phone." "No." "Mira?" His voice was a warning. I shook my head. "You don't get to demand things right now." He reached out. I flinched back. His hand froze in the air. For a heartbeat, I thought he might actually stop. But then his eyes went cold. "Get down," he said again, lower. "Now." I swallowed. "Tell me who M is." Silence. "Tell me," I insisted, voice trembling. "Tell me you didn't mean what you wrote." His gaze flicked toward the city, toward the horizon where the towers of his company pierced the sky. "I can't," he said finally. The words hit me like a slap. "You can't," I repeated. He looked back at me. "Not here." "Not here," I echoed, laughter bubbling up through my tears like something broken. "You chose a meeting over me, Adrian, over our baby. And now you can't even tell me the truth?" He clenched his fists. "That meeting was about us." "Was it?" "It was about securing our future," he snapped. "Our future," I said softly. "You mean your empire?" His eyes flashed. "My empire keeps you safe." "From who?" I demanded. "From you?" He took a step forward. I stepped back, my heel teetering on the edge of the wall. Adrian's hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. I gasped. His grip was iron, warm and unyielding. "Don't," he said, voice strained. "Don't do this." My breath came in ragged bursts. "Let go!" He didn't. His eyes searched mine, something like panic flickering deep beneath the control. "You can't run," he said. "Not now. Watch me." I yanked hard. He pulled me toward him. For a second, I was off balance, half falling, and the fear that surged through me was primal. Not just fear for myself, fear for the tiny heartbeat inside me. Adrian caught me against his chest, arms wrapping around me like a cage. I struggled, pounding my fists against him. "Let me go!" He held me tighter. "Stop! Stop lying!" I screamed. He pressed his forehead to mine. His breath was hot, urgent. "Mira, listen to me." "I listened for 3 years," I sobbed. "I listened when you said you loved me. I listened when you said you'd change. I listened when you said the business would never touch me." His eyes darkened at the word, business. "It's not the business," he murmured. "Then what is it?" He hesitated. That hesitation was my answer. I went still. Adrian's arm loosened slightly, as if he thought I'd calmed. I didn't. I reached into my bag and pulled out the small pepper spray Tessa had forced into my hand months ago. The one I'd laughed at because who would ever attack me in Adrian Vale's penthouse? I sprayed it into his face. Adrian cursed, staggering back, hands flying to his eyes. The moment he released me, I moved. I didn't think. I didn't hesitate. I swung my leg over the wall and grabbed the ladder. The cold metal shocked my palms. Behind me, Adrian roared my name. "Mira!" I climbed. My heart hammered so hard I thought it would tear my ribs apart. The wind tried to rip me off the ladder. My fingers burned. "Stop!" Adrian shouted. I heard the sliding door slam. Footsteps. He was coming. I climbed faster. 1 rung. 2. My foot slipped. I gasped, clutching harder. A hand grabbed my ankle. I screamed. Adrian's voice was strained, furious. "Don't you dare!" I kicked. He grunted, losing his grip. I climbed again. Then there was a sharp crack, like metal snapping. The ladder jolted. For a horrifying second, I thought it was breaking, that we would both fall. But it wasn't the ladder. It was the glass door behind us. Someone had shot it. The sound echoed through the night. Adrian froze. So did I. The wind seemed to stop. Then another crack. A bullet whistled past, hitting the wall near my head. I screamed and ducked, clinging to the ladder. Adrian swore violently. He looked toward the terrace, eyes narrowing. "Get down!" He barked at me, not as a command now, but as an order to survive. "What?" I cried. "Now!" He climbed up after me, not to stop me, but to shield me. His body moved with practiced speed, one hand gripping the ladder, the other reaching up to cover my back. More shots. They weren't random. They were aimed. At me. Adrian's shoulder jerked as a bullet grazed him. He hissed, but he didn't slow. He shoved me upward. "Go!" I scrambled, tears blinding me. Above us was a narrow maintenance platform, leading into the adjacent service structure. If I could reach it, I could crawl inside. Adrian followed, blocking the line of fire with his body. My hands trembled so badly I could barely grip the edge of the platform when I reached it. Adrian pushed me up, then hauled himself after. We ducked behind the low concrete barrier. For a moment, the gunfire paused. Adrian's chest heaved. Blood seeped through his shirt at the shoulder. My breath came in ragged sobs. "They're shooting at me," I whispered, Adrian's eyes were wild in a way I'd never seen. Yes. Why? He stared at me, jaw tight. Because you're pregnant. The words punched the air out of me. What? He grabbed my face, hands shaking. Because you're carrying my heir, he said, voice low and furious. And someone wants to make sure you never give birth. A cold terror spread through me. Who? I whispered. He didn't answer. Instead, his gaze flicked toward the terrace again. The shooter was hidden somewhere on the neighboring rooftop. Adrian pulled out his own phone, not the one I called, but another. He typed with one hand, blood smearing the screen. Then he looked at me. Listen, he said. If you want the truth, I'll give it. But not here. We have to move. I shook my head, tears falling. You said I was a liability. His eyes flashed. I said if you became one, that was to someone who was supposed to protect you. I breathed. He flinched. So I was right. M is real. Adrian's mouth tightened. Yes. And they're texting me. Yes. Are they the ones shooting at me? No. His answer was instant, almost vicious. Then who? He swallowed once, the movement tight. My brother. The world tilted. You don't have a brother, I whispered. Adrian's eyes were dark. I do. I just killed him in the boardroom. I stared at him, not understanding. He squeezed my cheeks gently, as if grounding me. Adrian Vale is not my real name, he said. My heartbeat stuttered. What? He glanced toward the edge of the platform. We don't have time. Another shot cracked. The bullet struck the barrier near us, sending chips of concrete flying. I screamed. Adrian shoved me lower. Move, he snarled. We crawled through the maintenance hatch into the service structure, a narrow corridor filled with pipes and the smell of dust. Adrian slammed the hatch behind us. The gunshots became muffled. My hands shook as I pressed them to my stomach. My baby, I whispered. Adrian's eyes softened for a heartbeat. Our baby, he corrected. I laughed bitterly through tears. You made me think you'd kill me. His jaw clenched. I would never. You wrote it. I wrote it because someone was already planning to kill you, he snapped. And I needed you watched. Watched. The word made me flinch. Adrian took a slow breath, forcing his voice calm. Mira, I'm sorry I declined your call. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner, but He looked away, pain flickering. I thought if I kept you out of it, you'd be safe. And you chose a meeting over me, I said. His eyes flashed. That meeting was the reason you're alive right now. I stared at him. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small flash drive. This, he said, is why I was in that meeting. What is it? The evidence that will destroy the man trying to kill you, he said. The evidence that will destroy half the board. I blinked. The board? Adrian's mouth twisted. You think my company is just business? It's a machine, and there are men inside it who don't want an heir. They want me disposable. My throat tightened. Why? Because I wasn't supposed to survive long enough to take control, he said. His words were a puzzle, and my mind was too crowded with fear to fit them together. Adrian grabbed my hand. Come on, we're leaving. Leaving? I repeated. Yes. I yanked my hand back. No, I'm leaving. You're the reason any of this is happening. His eyes went cold. And I'm the reason you'll live. We stared at each other in the dim corridor, the air thick with dust and adrenaline. Then my phone buzzed again. I pulled it out with shaking fingers. M. He's lying. My stomach dropped. Adrian's gaze snapped to the screen. His face changed. Not fear. Rage. He took the phone from me gently but firmly. Mira, he said quietly. You need to trust me. Why? I whispered. Why should I? Because I love you, he almost said. I could see it in his eyes, the words pressing against his control. Instead, he said, because if you don't, you'll die. The truth of it was too blunt to deny. A sob tore out of me. Adrian pulled me close, his hand on the back of my head, pressing my face to his chest. I felt his heartbeat, hard and fast. Our baby's heartbeat. For one breath, I let myself cling. Then I remembered the messages. Liability. Handle it. I pulled away. I'm leaving, I said, voice shaking but firm. With or without you, and you can't stop me. Adrian's eyes narrowed. You think I'm the enemy. Aren't you? He stared at me for a long moment. Then he nodded once, like he'd made a decision. Fine, he said. Then I won't stop you. I blinked, surprised. He stepped back, pulling out the second phone, the one with M's messages. He tossed it to me. Read everything, he said. All of it. Every message. The names, the dates. Then decide who your enemy is. I caught it with trembling hands. Adrian turned and walked down the corridor, limping slightly from his wounded shoulder. Where are you going? I demanded. To finish the meeting, he said without looking back. My breath caught. He glanced over his shoulder then, eyes burning. I chose it over you once, he said. I won't make that mistake again. But I also won't let them take our child. So if you're leaving, leave smart. Leave alive. Then he disappeared into the shadows. I stood there, shaking, with 2 phones in my hands and gunfire still faintly echoing outside. I should have run. I should have climbed down the other side of the building and vanished into the city. Instead, I opened the second phone and read. Because revenge begins with truth. The thread with M wasn't just about me. It was about a plan. A plot that had started before I ever met Adrian. The messages went back years. M. The original heir is compromised. Adrian. Then we remove him. M. He's your blood. Adrian. Blood is a chain. I break chains. M. The board wants him. Adrian. The board doesn't get to choose my life. M. They'll come for her if they can't get to you. Adrian. Then you watch her. M. She'll hate you, Christian. Better she hates me alive than loves me dead. My throat tightened. There were names I recognized. Board members, executives, men who smiled at me at charity events, who complimented my dress, who toasted to the Vale family. And there were names I didn't. Aidan, Graham, Lucian, and one name that appeared again and again like a shadow. Elias. My skin prickled. The messages described a scheme to remove Adrian from power by destroying his reputation, sabotaging his deals, and if necessary, eliminating him. But the most terrifying part was the way they spoke about me. She's pregnant. I know. It complicates things. It changes everything. The board will panic. Let them. They'll come for her. Then they'll die. I read that line 3 times. Then my eyes dropped to the message I'd seen earlier, the one that had made my blood freeze. If she becomes a liability, you know what to do. Now, with context, it read differently. Not a threat against me. A contingency. A horrifying one. Because if I became a liability, if I was captured, if I was used against him, then the only way to keep the board from controlling him would be to remove the leverage. To remove me. My stomach lurched. So he had meant it, just not the way I thought. It was worse, because it meant Adrian loved me enough to consider killing me for the sake of his empire. Or maybe he loved his empire enough to consider killing me while calling it love. The difference mattered, and I didn't know which was true. My phone buzzed. Tessa. I answered with shaking hands. I can't get out, I whispered. He locked the doors, and someone shot at me. Adrian is here. What? Tessa's voice went sharp. Are you hurt? No, he got hit. Mira, listen to me, she said. Where are you now? In the service structure. I swallowed. I'm reading his messages. Stop reading and start moving, Tessa snapped. You can't stay in that building. He says someone wants to kill me because I'm pregnant. A pause. Then Tessa's voice went quiet. That means your leverage. I know. Mira, she said. I'm downstairs. I can't get past security. Adrian's men are everywhere. My door is locked. I know. I froze. How do you know? Because someone called me, Tessa said. My blood turned to ice. Who? A private number, she said. They told me to leave. They told me if I didn't, I'd be charged with trespassing and obstruction. Fear crawled up my spine. That's Adrian. No, Tessa said. The voice wasn't his, and the threat wasn't legal. It was personal. My fingers tightened around the phone. What did they say? Tessa hesitated, then carefully. They said, tell Mira the meeting will end her. My breath caught. The meeting. The one Adrian chose over me. The one he'd run back to finish. A cold, sick understanding formed. That meeting wasn't just about securing our future. It was a trap. For Adrian. And for me. My hand drifted to my belly. Tessa, I whispered. I don't think I'm going to be allowed to leave. Then we make you leave, she said fiercely. Tell me where the service stairwell is. It's locked. Everything can be unlocked, Tessa said. If not with a key, then with leverage. Mira, do you trust me? Yes, I whispered. Because with Tessa, trust didn't feel like a risk. Then do exactly what I say, she ordered. You need to find the building's maintenance control room. There will be a panel for the security locks. If we can override it, you can get out. Can you find it? I looked down the corridor. Pipes, doors, signs. Maybe, I said. Go, she said. Stay on the phone with me. I moved, heart pounding. As I walked, my phone buzzed again with a text. Mine. She's trying to help you. Mine. She can't. Mine. Choose wisely. I didn't respond. I followed the corridor until I found a door labeled mechanical. It was locked, of course. My hands shook as I tried the handle. Nothing. Tessa, I whispered. It's locked. Look for an emergency key box, she said. Sometimes they hide them near the door. I searched the wall. There was a small red box, glass front, with a key inside. My breath caught. I grabbed the nearby fire extinguisher and smashed the glass. The sound echoed. I snatched the key and shoved it into the lock. It turned. The door opened. Inside was a cramped room filled with monitors and panels, the hum of servers, the glow of security feeds. I stepped in and shut the door behind me. Tessa, I whispered. I'm in. Good, she said. Find the panel for elevator and stairwell locks. I scanned the panels, eyes darting over labels. Access control, fire override, lockdown. There was a touchscreen interface with a login prompt. My stomach sank. It needs a password, I whispered. Try admin, Tessa said. I did. Denied. Try veil, she said. Denied. My mind raced. Adrian's patterns. My birthday. I typed it. Denied. Damn, I whispered. Then I remembered something. The day we moved in, Adrian had pressed his palm to the panel and said, The system recognizes me now. Biometric. I didn't have that. Tessa, I whispered, panic rising. I can't log in. Okay, she said, breathing hard. Then we do it the old-fashioned way. What? Pull the fire override, she said. I stared at the big red lever labeled Fire Override. Unlock all access. My heart hammered. If I pulled it, alarms would ring. The building would go into emergency mode. Doors would unlock. Security would respond. Adrian would know. But maybe that was the point. Maybe chaos was my only cover. I swallowed. Okay. Mira, Tessa said softly now. You have to choose yourself. Choose your baby. Don't choose the man who keeps choosing meetings. The words settled into my chest like a stone. I grabbed the lever and yanked. Alarms blared instantly. Red lights flashed. A siren screamed through the walls. My phone buzzed with a flood of notifications. Unknown number, unknown number. Then a text. Adrian, what did you do? My breath hitched. Tessa shouted, Now, go! I ran. I burst out of the mechanical room and down the corridor, the sirens making my ears ring. Doors clicked open around me as the override unlocked everything. I found the service stairwell. This time, the handle moved. I shoved it open and ran down the stairs, my footsteps pounding. My lungs burned, my stomach churned. As I descended, I heard footsteps above, heavy, fast. Someone was coming. I didn't look back. I ran. At the 20th floor, the stairwell door burst open and a man stepped in. Not Adrian. He wore a black suit, an earpiece, and a calm expression that didn't match the chaos. His eyes met mine, and I recognized him from the charity galas. Graham, one of Adrian's executives. He smiled. Mira, he said gently, as if we were old friends. You shouldn't be here. My blood turned to ice. I tried to run past him. He grabbed my arm. Don't, he murmured. You'll hurt yourself. I struggled, panic surging. Let go! His grip tightened, not painful, but firm. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said. "I'm here to keep you safe." The phrase felt like a script. I thought of the text. "The doors are locked for your protection." I thought of M. I thought of liability. "You're M," I whispered. Graham's smile didn't change. "I'm someone who cleans up messes," he said. "And right now, you are a very dangerous mess." I swallowed hard. "Adrian told you to watch me." "Yes," he admitted. "And he told you what to do if I became a liability," I said, voice shaking. Graham's eyes softened, almost regretful. "Mira," he said, "you don't understand what you're carrying." "Our baby," I hissed. "His heir," Graham corrected. The words made my stomach twist. He leaned closer, voice low. "There are men who will tear this city apart to control that bloodline," he said. "And there are men who will kill you to stop it." My throat tightened. "And you?" Graham held my gaze. "I will do what Adrian needs," he said. Fear clawed at me. "He needs me dead?" Graham's jaw tightened. "He needs you alive," he said. "For now." The last two words sliced through me. For now. I slammed my knee into his groin. He grunted, grip loosening. I yanked my arm free and ran down the stairs. Behind me, Graham cursed and chased. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. I reached the ground floor and shoved the stairwell door open. The lobby was chaos. Alarms, security guards, people shouting. I spotted Tessa near the entrance, her eyes wide, hair wild, phone in hand. "Mira!" she cried. I ran to her. She grabbed my shoulders, scanning me. "Are you okay?" "No," I gasped. "We need to go. Now." Tessa nodded. She pulled me toward the door. But before we could reach it, a line of men in black suits stepped in front of us. Adrian's men. At the center was Adrian. He looked like a storm. Blood stained his shoulder. His eyes were furious and wild. He took one look at me and crossed the space in seconds. He grabbed my face, his hands trembling. "Are you hurt?" I flinched. His eyes widened at the flinch. Pain flashed across his face. "Mira," he whispered. "I'm sorry." I laughed, sharp and broken. "You're sorry now?" He swallowed hard. "I didn't know they'd move tonight," he said. "I didn't know they'd shoot at you." "You didn't know," I repeated. "But you knew enough to lock the doors. You knew enough to tell someone what to do if I became a liability." Adrian's jaw clenched. Behind him, Graham appeared, adjusting his suit, face calm again. My blood boiled. I stepped back and moved closer to Tessa. Adrian followed, eyes locked on me. "Come with me," he said. "No," I said. His voice hardened. "Mira." I lifted my chin. "You chose a meeting over me," I said. "So I chose myself." His eyes darkened, something like desperation flickering. "This isn't about ego," he said. "It's about survival." "Then survive without controlling me," I snapped. His hand reached out. Tessa stepped between us, eyes blazing. "Touch her, and I'll bury you in court," she said. Adrian's gaze flicked to Tessa, cold. "This isn't a court matter," he said. It will be, Tessa said. Adrian's mouth tightened. Then a voice from behind us said, How touching. The crowd parted. A man stepped into the lobby. He looked like Adrian. Not identical, but close enough that my stomach dropped. Same sharp jaw, same dark eyes, same predatory calm. But his smile was warmer, almost charming. You're the wife, he said, eyes on me. Mira. Adrian went rigid. Tobias, he said, voice like a knife. Tobias Vale, the brother Adrian claimed he didn't have. My skin prickled. Tobias smiled at Adrian. You look tired, brother, he said. All those meetings. Adrian's body moved instantly, stepping in front of me. Protective, possessive. As if he could shield me from everything by sheer will. Tobias's gaze flicked to my belly. Something hungry flashed in his eyes. There it is, he murmured. The little heartbeat that changes the board. My blood ran cold. Tobias's smile widened. Congratulations, he said. You've made yourself very important. Adrian's voice was low, dangerous. Get out. Tobias laughed softly. You can't order me out of a building you don't own, he said. Not anymore. Adrian's eyes narrowed. What did you do? Tobias spread his hands. While you were busy declining calls and locking doors, he said, I was securing the future. The phrase echoed Adrian's. A chill crawled down my spine. Tobias looked at me again, voice softer. Mira, he said, you should come with me. Adrian's hand tightened on my shoulder. Tessa squeezed my arm. My mind raced. Tobias took a step closer. I can protect you, he said. I can protect the child. Adrian can't. He's too busy. Adrian's voice snapped. Don't talk to her. Tobias's eyes glinted. Or what? He asked. You'll shoot me in the lobby? In front of witnesses? Adrian's jaw clenched. Tobias leaned closer, voice low, intimate, meant only for me. Adrian will let you die if it saves his empire, he murmured, but I won't. My stomach twisted. Was he lying? Or was he telling the truth with a smile? Christian's breath was hot near my ear. Don't listen to him, he said. My eyes burned with tears. I looked at Adrian, at the blood on his shirt, at the fear in his eyes, at the control in his hands. I'm leaving, I said, voice shaking but clear. Adrian's body went still. Mira, he whispered. With or without you, I said. And you can't stop me. Tobias's smile widened. Smart girl, he said. Adrian's hand tightened like a vice. I met his eyes. Let me go, I said. For a moment, I thought he wouldn't. Then his grip loosened. Pain flickered across his face. He stepped back. The space between us felt like falling. Tessa pulled me toward the door. We moved. Adrian didn't follow. Tobias watched, amused. As we pushed through the lobby crowd, my phone buzzed. A text from Adrian. Adrian, if you leave, they'll come for you. Another text. Adrian, if you leave, I can't protect you. Another. Adrian, if you leave, I will burn this city down to find you. My hands shook. Tessa shoved me into her car and slammed the door. We drove. The city blurred, My breath came in broken gasps. I pressed my palm to my belly and whispered, "I'm sorry." Not to Adrian, to the child. Because I didn't know what kind of world I'd just pulled us into. Tessa drove like a woman outrunning the end of her life. She didn't speak until we were miles away, weaving through side streets. "Tell me everything," she said. So I did. I told her about Tobias, about the messages, about Graham, about the gunshots, about Adrian saying he'd burn the city down. Tessa's hands tightened on the wheel. "He might," she said quietly. "I know," I whispered. We reached Tessa's townhouse in a quiet neighborhood where the streetlights were dim and the houses looked ordinary. It was the kind of place Adrian never visited. Tessa dragged me inside and locked the doors. She pulled the curtains. She checked the windows. Then she turned to me and held my face. "Mira," she said, voice steady. "You need a plan." My throat tightened. "I don't have one." "Yes, you do," she said. "You just don't know it yet." I stared at her. Tessa took a slow breath. "Adrian Vale is a monster," she said. "But monsters have rules. They have weaknesses. And right now, you're holding the only thing he can't replace." My hand drifted to my belly. "His heir," I whispered. "His leverage," she corrected. The word made me nauseous. Tessa continued, eyes sharp. "If you want to survive," she said, "you need to stop thinking like a wife. You need to think like a player." A bitter laugh escaped me. "I don't know how." "You will," she said, "because you have no choice." That night, I didn't sleep. I lay on Tessa's guest bed with my hand on my stomach, feeling the weight of a life I couldn't protect by love alone. My phone buzzed constantly. Adrian, Adrian, Adrian. I ignored him. Then the unknown number buzzed. "M, he'll find you. M, he always does. M, and when he does, you'll wish you'd stayed." My skin crawled. I turned off my phone. For the first time in 3 years, I let the silence belong to me. The next morning, Tessa made coffee and spread documents across her dining table like weapons. "First," she said, tapping a folder, "we need to know what you have." "What do you mean?" "You're married to Adrian Vale," she said. "That means legally you have access to certain things. Financial accounts, trusts, properties, shares. If you leave with his child, he will use every resource to drag you back, unless you have resources too." My stomach twisted. "I don't want his money." "You don't want his money," Tessa agreed. "But you need it. To disappear. To protect your baby. To fight." Fight. The word tasted strange. Tessa slid a paper toward me. "Do you know about the Vale Family Trust?" I shook my head. Tessa's eyes narrowed. "Of course you don't," she muttered. "He hid it." She pulled out another file. "I ran some checks," she said. "I used contacts. I dug. Adrian has assets in shells, properties under different names. But there's something else." She slid a photograph across the table, a younger Adrian and a younger Tobias, standing beside an older man with cold eyes. "His father," I whispered. Tessa nodded. "His real father," she said, "not the story Adrian told you about being an orphan." My chest tightened. "Adrian lied," I whispered. "He lied because his family is poison," Tessa said, "and because the board is tied to that family." "They're not just shareholders. They're guardians." Guardians. The word made my skin crawl. Tessa leaned forward. "Mira," she said, "I think your pregnancy triggered something." "What?" "Succession," she said. "The board might have a clause, a contingency. If an heir exists, control shifts." My stomach dropped. "That's why Tobias came," I whispered. Tessa nodded. "And that's why they shot at you," she said. "If you disappear, they can't control the heir. If you die, there is no heir. Either way, the board stays in power." My hands trembled. "So what do I do?" I whispered. Tessa's eyes were fierce. "You use the heir," she said. I flinched. "Don't talk about my baby like a tool." Tessa softened. "I'm not," she said gently. "I'm talking about the reality you're in. You can pretend you're just a woman who fell in love and got pregnant. Or you can accept you're sitting on the only bargaining chip in a war." A sob rose in my throat. Tessa continued, voice steady. "You want revenge," she said. The word landed. Do I? I thought of Adrian's declined call, of his locked doors, of his message about liabilities, of his hand on my wrist, of the way he had shielded me on the ladder, of the fear in his eyes when he thought I might fall. My emotions tangled, messy and sharp. "I want to be safe," I whispered. "And you won't be," Tessa said, "unless you change the game." That was the moment I stopped being a wife. Not because my love died, but because love wasn't enough. We spent the next week building my disappearance. Tessa arranged new IDs through a contact who owed her a favor. She taught me how to move cash without triggering alerts. She taught me how to think like someone who expected to be watched. We switched cars. We used burner phones. We avoided cameras. And all the while, Adrian hunted. I knew because his presence lingered like smoke. Strangers parked on the street too long, a black sedan that appeared twice in different neighborhoods. A florist delivery with no card. A message slipped under Tessa's door. A single line. "I will find you." Tessa burned it without blinking. "Let him," she said. "We want him to." "What?" I whispered. Tessa's eyes were cold. "We're not just hiding," she said. "We're setting a trap." A trap. For Adrian. For Tobias. For the board. For anyone who thought my body was a battlefield. We needed information. We needed proof. We needed leverage beyond the heartbeat. That was when I remembered the flash drive Adrian had shown me in the service structure. He'd said it would destroy the man trying to kill me. He'd said it would destroy half the board. Where was it now? If Adrian still had it, it meant he held a weapon that could change everything. If Tobias got it, it meant death. And if I got it, I could negotiate. Or I could burn them all. The plan was insane, but insanity is what survival looks like when you're cornered. I couldn't go back to the penthouse, so I went to the only other place Adrian trusted. His office. The Vale Tower was a blade of glass in the center of the city. Security tighter than most embassies. Cameras everywhere. Guards who would recognize me. I couldn't walk in as Mira Vale, so I walked in as someone else. A week after my escape, I put on a black wig, heavy glasses, and a tailored suit that made me look like an assistant who didn't get paid enough to smile. Tessa drove me near the tower and dropped me off a block away. "Remember," she said, gripping my hand, "if you see Adrian, don't freeze." My throat tightened. "What if he won't hurt you," she said. "Not here. Not in public." "And if he does?"
I whispered. Tessa's eyes were steel. Then I'll bury him, she said. Now go. I walked.
Every step toward that tower felt like walking back into my own cage. I kept my head down. I swiped into the lobby behind a group of employees. I moved with purpose. No one questions someone who looks like they belong. Inside, the lobby was bright, polished, a cathedral to money. The walls were lined with screens displaying stock prices and corporate slogans. Innovate, lead, secure the future. I swallowed. Secure the future. The words felt like a joke. I crossed to the elevators. I didn't have clearance for the executive floors, but I wasn't going up. I slipped into the side corridor toward the service access. 2 guards stood by the door. My heartbeat stuttered. Then I saw Graham. He stood near them, talking quietly, face calm. My blood ran cold. He looked up. His eyes met mine through my glasses. For a heartbeat, the world froze. Then his gaze flicked away, dismissing me like I was nothing. He didn't recognize me. Or he did, and pretended he didn't. Either way, it was an opening. I walked past, shoulders squared, and pushed through the service door when a delivery man entered. The corridor beyond smelled like disinfectant and metal. I moved fast, following Tessa's map of the building. The executive security room was on the 3rd sublevel. It wasn't supposed to be accessible, but security systems always have weaknesses, especially when the person who designed them assumed his wife would never betray him. I found the stairwell. I descended. The air grew colder, the lights dimmer. On the 3rd sublevel, a door with a keypad marked Security Operations. I pressed my palm against the scanner. Nothing, of course. Then I pulled out the second phone, the one Adrian had tossed me. Tessa had cloned it. We'd used it as a key. I held it to the scanner. The panel beeped. Access granted. I exhaled shakily. I pushed the door open. Inside were monitors, servers, and a small desk with a computer logged in. On the screen was a file directory. Veil, board, private. My heart hammered. I sat at the computer and searched. Flash drive. No. Evidence. No. Then I typed a word I hadn't seen in years. Project Heir. The screen loaded. A folder opened. My breath caught. Inside were documents, legal clauses, trust agreements, DNA protocols, and a spreadsheet with names. Board members, guardians, successors. I stared. My hands shook. This was it. This was the cage. A system designed to control bloodlines, to control Adrian, to control me. At the top of the page was a clause. If a verified heir is produced by the primary alpha, control of the Veil Trust transfers to the Guardian Council until the heir reaches maturity. Guardian Council. The board. My stomach lurched. So if I gave birth, the board would take control. Not just of money, of my child. They'd call it protection. They'd call it legacy. It would be theft. My hands trembled as I scrolled. Another clause. If the primary alpha is deemed unstable, unfit, or compromised, custody and guardianship of the heir transfers immediately. Unfit. Compromised. The words were weapons. They could accuse Adrian of anything. They could accuse me. They could take my child. I felt bile rise in my throat. In that moment, revenge stopped being an abstract flame. It became a necessity. I needed those documents. I needed proof. I needed to burn the system down. I plugged in the small USB drive Tessa had given me. I copied everything. The transfer bar crawled slowly. My heartbeat pounded. On the monitors, security feeds flickered. I saw the lobby, the elevators, the executive floor. Then I saw Adrian. He was on the 42nd floor, walking through the hallway toward the boardroom. He looked like death. His shoulder was bandaged, his jaw was tight. Behind him walked Tobias, smiling, and Graham, calm, and several board members. They moved like a procession, like men heading to a ritual. My stomach twisted. The meeting, the one Adrian chose over me, the one that would decide the future. I watched as Adrian pushed open the boardroom doors. The cameras inside showed a long table, chairs filled with men and women in suits. The Guardian Council. They looked ordinary. They weren't. The transfer completed. I yanked the drive out. Then the security room door beeped. Access denied. Someone was trying to enter. My breath caught. I grabbed the cloned phone and shut the computer. The keypad beeped again. Someone entered the code. The door clicked. I froze. Then I moved. There was an emergency exit in the back of the room, a narrow corridor leading to the maintenance tunnels. I ran. Footsteps behind me. A voice. "Mira!" My blood froze. Adrian. How was he here? I didn't look back. I ran faster. "Mira!" he shouted. My lungs burned. The tunnel smelled like dust and metal. The lights flickered. I turned corners blindly. Behind me, his footsteps were relentless. He was catching up. He always did. My heart hammered. I burst through a maintenance hatch and stumbled into a storage room. Boxes, cleaning supplies, a small window. No way out. The door slammed open. Adrian stepped in. He looked at me like he'd been dying for days, and I was oxygen. His chest heaved. His eyes were wild. "You," he rasped. I backed away until my spine hit the wall. "How did you find me?" I whispered. His jaw clenched. "You used my system," he said. "You tripped a silent alarm." I swallowed. He took a step closer. "Why are you here?" he demanded. My hands trembled around the USB drive in my pocket. "I could ask you the same," I whispered. "Aren't you supposed to be in your meeting?" His eyes flashed. "I left it," he said. My breath caught. "You left it," I repeated. He swallowed hard. "Because I realized something," he said. "I realized I made the wrong choice." I laughed bitterly. "Now you realize?" He flinched as if struck. He reached toward me. I raised my hand. "Don't." He stopped. For a heartbeat, he just stared at me, jaw tight, eyes burning. Then he spoke, voice low. "They're moving," he said. "The council, Tobias, Graham. They're trying to declare me compromised. They're using you." I swallowed hard. "I know," I whispered. His eyes widened slightly. "What do you mean you know?" I pulled the USB drive from my pocket and held it up. Adrian's gaze snapped to it. His face went still. "You stole it," he said. "I copied it," I corrected, voice shaking. "Project Heir. The clauses, the guardianship, everything." Adrian's jaw clenched. For a moment, I saw something like relief in his eyes. Then it vanished, replaced by anger. "You shouldn't have seen that," he said. Because you didn't want me to know my child will be stolen, I snapped. His eyes flared. I didn't want you to panic. I'm past panic, I hissed. I'm in war. The words shocked even me. Adrian stared at me. Then slowly he nodded. Yes, he said. You are. The air between us crackled. I lifted my chin. I'm leaving, I said. And I'm taking these documents. And if you try to stop me, I'll release them. Adrian's eyes narrowed. To who? To the press, I said. His mouth tightened. They'll bury you. To the authorities, I said. He laughed, short and humorless. They own the authorities. To your enemies, I said. His gaze sharpened. That would be suicide. I swallowed. Then tell me what to do, I whispered. Because I'm not giving them my child. Adrian stared at me for a long moment. Then he stepped closer, not threatening, careful. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the flash drive I'd seen before, a different one. This, he said, is the evidence I was in the meeting for. My breath caught. He held it out. I didn't take it. What is it? I asked. Records, he said. Payments, bribes, orders. Proof that the council has been trafficking heirs, moving them between families like assets. My stomach lurched. Heirs, I whispered. Adrian nodded, eyes dark. Children, he said. Babies. They call it legacy. It's a market. A sob rose in my throat. My hand pressed to my belly. Adrian's voice softened. Mira, he said, I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to be part of this. You already made me part of it, I whispered. His jaw clenched. I tried to keep you out, he said. I failed. I stared at him. His eyes were raw now, the mask slipping. I'm sorry, he whispered. The apology landed differently this time, not like a gift, like a crack. I can't trust you, I whispered. He flinched. I want to, I admitted, voice breaking. But you locked me in. You declined my call. You let me think I was going to die. His throat bobbed as he swallowed. I know, he said. Silence. Then he said, if you leave alone, they'll take you. My skin prickled. Who? The council, he said. Tobias. Graham. They'll find you. They'll call it a welfare check. They'll call it custody. They'll call it protection. And you'll wake up in a clinic where they can cut the air out of you. My blood turned to ice. I won't let them, I whispered. Adrian's eyes burned. Then you need to let me help, he said. I stared at him. How? I whispered. He took a slow breath. We burn them, he said. The word burn felt like a match struck in my chest. He continued, voice low. We use your documents. We use my evidence. We expose the council. We destroy the trust. We dismantle the machine. And then what? I whispered. Adrian's gaze softened, just a fraction. Then you disappear, he said, with our child. My breath caught. He said our, not heir, not leverage. Our. Why would you let me disappear? I whispered. Because I love you would have been the simple answer. Instead, he said, because if you stay, they'll never stop. I swallowed hard. And you? I asked. Adrian's mouth twisted. I don't get to disappear, he said. Not yet. Not yet. The phrase sounded like a death sentence. I gripped the USB drive in my hand until my fingers hurt. This is my revenge, I whispered. Adrian nodded once. Yes, he said. And it's yours too, I said. His eyes darkened. It always was, he murmured. We didn't have time to argue. Adrian took my hand. His palm was warm, steady. I hated how much my body remembered him. He led me through the tunnels, through hidden corridors, up a service stairwell to a private elevator reserved for emergencies. As we rose, the city unfolded beneath us. When the elevator doors opened, we stepped into a private hallway outside the boardroom. The air smelled like money and cold air conditioning. Adrian's security men stood there, tense. They looked relieved to see him. Then their eyes landed on me. Fear, pity, respect. I didn't know which I hated more. Adrian turned to me. Stay behind me, he murmured. I lifted my chin. No, I said. I'm not behind anyone anymore. His gaze flicked to mine. Then he nodded. Okay, he said. Beside me. We walked to the boardroom doors. Adrian pushed them open. Inside, the Guardian Council turned. Tobias sat at the head of the table, smiling like a king. Graham sat to his right, calm. Other board members watched, expressions guarded. When their eyes landed on me, the room shifted. I felt it. A heartbeat had entered. A bargaining chip had walked in. A woman who refused to be silent. Tobias leaned back, amusement in his eyes. There she is, he said. Our missing liability. My skin crawled. Adrian's voice was cold. She's not a liability, he said. She's my wife. Tobias's smile widened. For now, he murmured. Adrian's jaw clenched. A councilwoman with sleek hair and sharp eyes spoke. Adrian, she said calmly, we've convened under Clause 14. You are compromised. Adrian laughed, low. Because my wife is pregnant? Because you're emotional, Tobias said. Adrian's eyes flashed. Because you're terrified, he corrected, of an heir you can't control. The councilwoman's smile was polite. Control is a harsh word, she said. We prefer stewardship. Stewardship. I stepped forward. The room went still. Tobias's eyes gleamed. Hello, Mira, he said softly. I held up my USB drive. I've read your clauses, I said. A flicker of surprise crossed several faces. Tobias's smile didn't change. Have you? He asked. I've read about your trust, I said, voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. About guardianship, about how you take children from mothers under the guise of legacy. A murmur rippled. Tobias chuckled. What a dramatic interpretation, he said. I lifted my chin. I have copies, I said, and I have a lawyer. Tobias's eyes flicked to Adrian. You let her steal? He asked. Adrian's voice was ice. I let her learn, he said. Graham spoke softly, almost regretful. Mira, he said. You don't want to do this. You don't understand the consequences. I looked at him. I understand enough, I said. You texted me. You told me not to leave. You locked the doors for my protection. Graham's face didn't change. But you weren't protecting me, I said. You were protecting your system. Tobias leaned forward. Mira, he said, voice honeyed. You're frightened. Hormonal. You've been manipulated by Adrian's paranoia. My stomach churned. He was trying to paint me as unstable, compromised. Adrian's hand brushed my back, grounding. I took a slow breath. Then I pulled out the second flash drive Adrian had given me, the evidence. I placed it on the table. The counsel's eyes sharpened. What's that? Tobias asked. Adrian's smile was cold. Your death, he said. A hush. Adrian continued, voice steady. I have records of every payment you've made, he said. Every bribe, every order, every child you've moved. The councilwoman's smile tightened. That's an accusation, she said. It's proof, Adrian said. Tobias laughed softly. Adrian, he said, you think you can win by threatening to expose us? Adrian's eyes burned. I'm not threatening, he said. I'm executing. He turned to the wall screen and pressed a button. The screen lit up. Images, bank transfers, emails, video clips, names, dates. A councilman went pale. Another slammed his hand on the table. This is fabricated, he snapped. Adrian's smile was razor. Try saying that to a federal agent, he said. Tobias's amusement finally cracked. His eyes narrowed. You called them, he said. Adrian nodded. This morning, he said. During the meeting you think I chose over my wife. My breath caught. He had. He had used that meeting to set the fire. Tobias's jaw tightened. You'd destroy the trust, he hissed. Adrian's eyes were cold. I'll destroy everything, he said. Tobias's gaze flicked to me, and I saw it, the calculation. He couldn't stop Adrian now, so he would try to take the heir, to take me. Tobias stood abruptly. Enough, he snapped. At the same time, Graham rose. So did two security men at the back. Not Adrian's. The council's. My heart slammed. Adrian's hand tightened on mine. Move, he murmured. Too late. The door burst open. Men in suits and tactical vests flooded the room, not the council's men. Federal agents. Adrian's plan. The room erupted. Board members shouted. Tobias cursed. Graham's face went still. An agent barked orders. Hands where we can see them. The councilwoman's polished mask shattered. Adrian stepped back, pulling me with him. Tobias lunged, not at Adrian, at me. I screamed as his hand grabbed my wrist. His grip was cold, desperate. Come, he hissed. Now. Adrian's body moved like a weapon. He slammed Tobias into the table. The room shook. Tobias snarled, shoving back. They fought like wolves. Agents surged. Someone shouted. Graham moved. He reached for me. Tessa's voice echoed in my memory. Everything can be unlocked, if not with a key, then with leverage. I had leverage, and I had a choice. I yanked my wrist free and ran. Adrian shouted my name. I didn't stop, because if I stayed, I would be grabbed. If I stayed, I would be used. If I stayed, I would lose my child. I ran through the boardroom doors into the hallway. Alarms blared, Footsteps pounded. I shoved open the stairwell door and sprinted down. My lungs burned, my legs shook. I pressed my hand to my belly and whispered, "Hold on." At the 10th floor, someone grabbed my arm. I screamed. Adrian. He hauled me into a small service alcove and slammed the door. His chest heaved, his eyes were wild. "Are you insane?" he rasped. I shook, tears streaming. "They were going to take me," I sobbed. He gripped my face, hands trembling. "I know," he said. "That's why I told you to stay beside me." "I did," I cried, "until Tobias grabbed me." Adrian's jaw clenched. "I should have killed him years ago," he snarled. He took a shaky breath, forcing his voice calm. "Mira," he said, "listen, the agents will arrest them, but that doesn't mean it's over. The trust has tentacles. There are people outside this room who will keep coming." I nodded, trembling. Adrian's gaze softened. "I need you gone," he said. My breath caught. "Gone?" I whispered. "Yes," he said. "Now, before anyone can stop you." My throat tightened. "You're letting me go," I whispered. Adrian's eyes burned. "I'm sending you," he corrected, "with protection." I shook my head. "I don't want your men," I whispered. "I don't want your cage." Adrian's jaw clenched. "Then take hers," he said. I blinked. He pulled out his phone and dialed. In seconds, Tessa's voice came through. "Where is she?" Tessa demanded. Adrian's voice was low. "With me," he said. Tessa's tone turned venomous. "If you hurt her—" "I'm getting her out," Adrian interrupted. "Listen, the council is being arrested, now. But Tobias may escape, Graham may escape. If they do, they'll come for her." Tessa exhaled sharply. "What do you want?" "I want you to disappear her," Adrian said. Silence. Then Tessa said, very quietly, "You're letting her go." Adrian's voice cracked, just slightly. "Yes," he said. My throat tightened. Tessa's voice softened too, but only a fraction. "Where?" Adrian named a location. A private airfield. A plane. A pilot. I stared at him, shaking. He ended the call and looked at me. His eyes were raw. "Mira," he whispered. I didn't trust myself to speak. He reached out slowly, giving me time to flinch. I didn't. His hand cupped my cheek. Warm, gentle. "I chose the meeting," he said, voice low, "because I thought I could win fast enough to come back to you. I thought I could keep you safe without telling you the truth. I thought I could control everything." A bitter laugh escaped me. "You can't," I whispered. He nodded. "I know," he said. "And because I can't, I need you to be free of this." Tears spilled. "Do you love me?" I whispered. The question hurt. Adrian's throat bobbed as he swallowed. "Yes," he said. The word was simple. It didn't erase the damage, but it cracked something open. "And the baby?" I whispered. He pressed his palm gently to my stomach. I froze. His eyes softened, almost reverent. "My child," he whispered. "Our child." His voice shook. Then his gaze hardened. "And no one will touch you," he said. Not while I'm breathing. I swallowed. You said you'd burn the city down, I whispered. Adrian's mouth twisted. I meant it, he said. I believed him. That was the terrifying part. Adrian pulled away and opened the service door. He guided me down the stairs, through a back corridor, out to a private garage. A black car waited. Tessa stood beside it, face pale, eyes fierce. When she saw me, relief flashed. When she saw Adrian, hatred returned. Adrian didn't flinch. He handed Tessa a small folder. What's that? She demanded. Everything you need, Adrian said. IDs, accounts, safe houses, a contact overseas. Tessa's eyes narrowed. Why would you give me this? Adrian's gaze flicked to me. Because she's carrying my heir, he said, and because she deserves better than my world. Tessa's jaw clenched. I stared at Adrian. He looked at me one last time. His eyes held 1,000 things he would never say. Then he stepped back. Go, he whispered. I climbed into the car. Tessa slammed the door and got in beside me. The driver, one of Tessa's contacts, started the engine. As we pulled out of the garage, I looked back. Christian stood there alone, blood on his shirt, eyes fixed on the car like he was watching his own heart leave his body. He lifted his hand. Not a wave, a vow. I pressed my palm to the glass, then we turned the corner, and he was gone. The next months were a blur of movement. Tessa and I disappeared. We changed names, we crossed borders, we lived out of suitcases, we slept in safe houses, and every day I waited for the moment the world would catch up. Sometimes at night, I listened to the news. Vale Corporation under federal investigation. Board members arrested. A scandal involving a private trust. Rumors of a missing heir. Adrian Vale refuses to comment. Tobias Vale missing. Graham Sinclair released on bail. The Guardian Council denies accusations. The machine didn't die easily, but it bled, and I watched it bleed from far away. In the quiet hours, when the baby's kicks became stronger and my body swelled with life, I thought about revenge. At first, revenge was simple. Make Adrian regret. Make him feel the ache I felt when he declined my call. Make him taste the loneliness he'd fed me in small doses for years. But then I learned what the council had done, what they would have done, and revenge became bigger. Revenge became justice. Revenge became a mother's refusal. I gave birth on a rainy night in a small coastal town where no one knew the name Vale. Tessa held my hand. A midwife with kind eyes guided me. Rain tore through me like lightning. Then the room filled with a new sound. A cry. My baby. My daughter. She was small and perfect and furious at the world. They placed her on my chest, warm and slick and alive. I sobbed. Tessa sobbed. The midwife smiled. What's her name? She asked. I looked at my daughter's tiny face. Her eyes were dark, like Adrian's, but softer, because she hadn't learned to become a weapon yet. Evelyn, I whispered. Tessa squeezed my hand. Evelyn, a name that didn't belong to any empire. A name that belonged to a girl who would grow up free. That night, after the midwife left, I held Evelyn in my arms and stared at the ceiling, exhaustion pressing down. Tessa sat beside me, watching. You did it, she whispered. I nodded, tears slipping. She's safe, Tessa said. For a moment I believed it. Then my phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. My blood ran cold. I stared. Tessa's eyes narrowed. "Don't open it," she warned. But I did. Because fear is also a chain, and I was tired of chains. The message contained only one line. "Happy birthday, Evelyn." My stomach dropped. Tessa snatched the phone from my hand. Her face went pale. "They found you," she whispered. I shook, clutching Evelyn tighter. "No," I whispered. "No, no, no." Tessa stood abruptly. "We leave," she said. "We can't," I sobbed. "She's hours old." "We can," Tessa said fiercely. "We have to." I stared at Evelyn's tiny face. She yawned, unaware of the war. I took a shaking breath. "We go," I whispered. We packed in minutes. Tessa moved like a soldier. I moved like a mother. We slipped out of the small house before dawn. We drove. The sea disappeared behind us. The sun rose. My daughter slept in her car seat, tiny fists curled. Tessa's phone buzzed. She listened. Then her eyes met mine. "It's Adrian," she said. My heart slammed. I swallowed hard. "What does he want?" I whispered. Tessa's jaw tightened. "He wants to know if you're alive," she said. Tears burned my eyes. I didn't answer. Tessa continued, voice quiet. "He said Tobias is loose," she said. "He said Graham sold your location." My blood turned to ice. "He said he's coming," Tessa added. My chest tightened. "Coming to take us?" I whispered. Tessa's eyes were fierce. "Coming to protect you," she said. I stared out the window at the road, at the changing landscape. Protect. The word had been used like a chain, but maybe it could be used like a shield. I looked down at Evelyn. Her tiny chest rose and fell. Alive. The only thing that mattered. I took a slow breath. "Tell him," I whispered. Tessa glanced at me. "Tell him what?" I swallowed, voice shaking. "Tell him I'm not coming back," I said. "Tell him he doesn't get to be my husband again. But—" my throat tightened. "But he can be her father," I whispered. "If he proves he can choose us over meetings." Tessa's eyes softened slightly. She nodded. Then she spoke into the phone. And somewhere far away, a man who had once declined my call heard the one thing he couldn't buy. A condition, a boundary, a chance. Weeks later, in a different country under a different name, I stood in a quiet park with Evelyn pressed against my chest in a sling. The air smelt like pine and cold earth. Tessa stood beside me, scanning the surroundings. "You sure?" she asked. My heart hammered. "No," I admitted. But I kept walking. At the edge of the park was a bench. A man sat there. Adrian. He looked thinner, tired. His eyes were the same, dark, intense, but there was something different now. A softness. A crack. He stood when he saw me. He didn't step closer. He waited. I stopped several feet away. Evelyn stirred against my chest. Adrian's gaze dropped. His breath hitched. For a moment, he looked like a man who'd been starving. "Mira," he whispered. I swallowed. "Adrian," I said. Silence. He lifted his eyes to mine. "She's beautiful," he whispered. I didn't respond. He swallowed hard. "May I?" he asked. The question was simple, but it was everything. Because it was permission. Because it was choice. Because it wasn't a command. I hesitated. Then, slowly, I loosened the sling and lifted Evelyn slightly so Adrian could see her face. Evelyn blinked up at him. Adrian's hand trembled as he reached out. He didn't touch her. He stopped inches away, as if afraid, as if reverent, as if he knew one wrong move could shatter what little trust remained. Evelyn yawned. Adrian let out a shaky breath. "I'm sorry," he whispered. I met his eyes. "I don't need apologies," I said quietly. "I need proof." He nodded. "I know," he said. He took a slow breath. "Tobias is dead," he said. My stomach twisted. "Graham is in prison," Adrian continued. "The council is dismantled. The trust is frozen. The machine is bleeding." My hands tightened around Evelyn. Adrian's eyes softened. "And I'm here," he said, "because I chose you." A bitter laugh rose in my throat. "You chose us after everything burned," I whispered. Adrian flinched. "Yes," he admitted. "Because I was blind. Because I thought control was love. Because I thought if I won, you'd forgive the way I fought." He swallowed hard. "But I learned," he said. "When you left, the Empire didn't feel like victory. It felt like emptiness." I stared at him. He continued, voice low. "I declined your call because I thought the meeting mattered more," he said. "Then I heard your voicemail, and I realized I might have just lost the only thing that mattered." Tears burned my eyes. Adrian's gaze dropped to Evelyn again. "I won't make that mistake again," he whispered. I took a slow breath. "Then start now," I said. His eyes lifted. "How?" I held his gaze. "Choose to let me decide," I said. "Choose to let her grow without your shadow choking her. Choose to be present without being possessive." Adrian nodded slowly. He looked like a man learning a new language. "I will," he whispered. I didn't believe him yet. Belief takes time. But revenge doesn't always end in ashes. Sometimes revenge is simply refusing to be owned. Sometimes revenge is forcing a man who thought meetings mattered more to kneel before the one thing he can't control. A heartbeat, a child, a woman who walked away. I adjusted the sling, settling Evelyn against my chest. Adrian's eyes followed the movement. He didn't reach. He didn't demand. He waited. I looked at him, and for the first time since the kitchen, since the declined call, since the ladder and the gunshots and the boardroom war, I felt something shift. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, but possibility. "You can walk with us," I said quietly. Adrian's breath hitched. He nodded, eyes shining with something raw. He fell into step beside me, not in front, not behind, beside. And as we walked through the park, my daughter's heartbeat warm against my chest, I knew one truth. He chose a meeting over me. So I left with his heir and my revenge, and in leaving, I became the one who chose.